I'm back with more breakfast egg recipes. First one we're gonna do is basically a cafe favorite. It's called the Denver Omelet. And I like it because it just incorporates a lot of really savory elements in there. So we have our onion, which I'm gonna chop up finely. I feel like this is one of those dishes where if you go to any popular breakfast joint in town, they will have a variation of this omelet on there, which is surprising because how many people do you know really like green bell peppers? Definitely not me. I mean, I like it okay. It's not my favorite, but it's also not like one that I dislike the most either. So I'm just gonna use a very little bit of it, dice it up. And then for the other elements, it's very simple, very simple, you guys. For this omelet, we have some ham that I've already diced up and then some shredded cheese. And then of course we have our eggs. So these are really great farm eggs I got at a local shop called Fermentation Farm. I mean, if there was ever an award to be given out for eggs, Orange County does that. These eggs won like first prize. So if you ever have a chance to try them out in Orange County, definitely check out Fermentation Farm. But for the omelet, I'm just gonna use 2 eggs because these are fairly big. And typically I like to do a 2 egg omelet. The yolk in these eggs are really bright orange, which to me is a sign of a really good egg. It's just nice and healthy. But let's go ahead and cook it over here. I've got my little omelet pan. I like using pans that have like a high side like this. There's a lot of mini pans that you can use that are non-stick, whatever you have that works for this purpose. So I'm gonna add a little bit of butter to this, grease up the sides. And then what we're gonna do first is just basically caramelize the onions. I like it really cooked down and caramelized because it just brings out a lot more flavor. So after a minute or so, just add the bell peppers. And then for me, I like to fry up just a little bit of the ham. Kind of like bacon, I do think that it brings out a lot more of that salty, smoky flavor. Okay, now if you're not totally confident that your eggs are gonna slide off, which I will admit, sometimes I am not totally confident things will work out the way that I want it to, especially with like an enamel cast iron. Just add a little bit of oil just to get it slippery, and then you can add your eggs. Now I'm gonna give you guys a little tip. I'm gonna turn down the heat a little bit so that it doesn't like burn the eggs once you add it in because it's already hot. And then what I like to do once I add the egg is scrape the bottom. It creates a fluffier omelet that way, see? And you have like little curds in there, and you just want to keep doing that until most of the runniness is gone. I would say like an American omelet definitely is not as hard as a French omelet, but you still need a little bit of technique to get a really good one. So now as I'm letting it cook, I'm gonna sprinkle on some cheese, cover it, and just let the egg finish cooking. Okay, so before I actually cover it, I forgot, I should flip it over. Sometimes I wish I could just go like one of those like chef where do that and then flip it, but okay, now we cover it. And here we have our omelet. I like to just sprinkle a little bit of parsley on there for color, a little bit of hot sauce. I like mine on the side. You can put it all over. You can even add ketchup if you want. Who here is team ketchup with eggs? Let's give this a try. A brunch staple. It's delicious. I really like how I caramelize the onions in here because it just adds that like extra layer of depth, and then the green bell peppers don't really bother me too much. The ham is nice and smoky, and then the cheese melty with the hot sauce. This is a really delicious breakfast, and honestly it didn't really take me that long to make at all. It's very hearty and filling, so hope you guys like that one. I'm gonna follow it up with an Asian style omelet next. So I just showed you guys a very classic American omelet. I thought I would take you to the other side of the world and show you an Asian style omelet, a Tamagoyaki, one that I actually used to make for my kids a lot when they were little. They're still little, but I don't make it as much anymore. But I like adding my eggs to a cup because, as you guys will see later, we're gonna pour it into the pan in sequence. For this omelet, I'm actually gonna be using 3 eggs. We're also gonna be flavoring it up. You could definitely use fish sauce. I've seen people use dashi or soy sauce. The soy sauce does color it a little bit, but very little bit to just enhance the flavor. Some mirin as well, and you can find that at the Asian market. Again, it's to really enhance the flavor, bring it out, and then just a tiny little bit of sugar. You're not trying to go for a sweet egg here. It's just, again, to make it really unique. And just mix it all up. Okay, so as you guys see here, I also have other mix-ins. You can do this plain when you roll it up, but I just wanted to give you guys some options. Some people add seaweed strip in there to make it really umami, kind of like a sushi tamagoyaki. You can alternatively do this and then put it on like an egg sushi, or you can add some green onions. I've seen people do tuna with it. For breakfast, I do like to keep it fairly simple. So for me, I think I'm just gonna add a little bit of green onions in there. Should I add this in there for them?
Sure.
So let's go over there and I will cook it up. This right here is a square cast iron tamagoyaki pan. You can find tamagoyaki pans at any Asian, Japanese grocery now. This could work just as well in a regular omelet pan. It's just not gonna have the shape that you're looking for. And the reason why I like this pan is because it's so narrow that you do get a really good roll. So it's totally up to you, but I like to get it hot because it's a cast iron. I do need the heat. So once it's nice and hot, I'm gonna oil my pan. And because my pan is already fairly seasoned, I'm just gonna spread it around like so. When you have the pan hot, the oil distributes way easier. And then you're gonna do this in thirds. I'm gonna pour a thin layer, get it nice and evenly cooked. If one area is not cooking like this, just go ahead and push it towards the top and spread it out. It'll act as a glue as we roll it. So then from the top or the bottom, whichever way works best for you, just roll it. The first layer doesn't really matter as much because you're just rolling. I find that a spatula works the easiest for me. And I like my tamagoyaki with really tight rolls. Once I'm done rolling there, push it down. It's okay if the bottom layer like this doesn't roll, because what we're gonna do is pour more and it'll glue it together. This helps it catch on, and you just repeat the same steps. If you wanted to add your flavorings or toppings in there, now would be the time to do it as the batter is still wet. If you're gonna add the seaweed strip, I would wait until it's cooked a little bit more to do that. And just add it in the middle right there. This way it doesn't sink down where it just like glues to it better. Roll. And as I've mentioned before, sometimes it doesn't always stick right away, but that's okay because we're just gonna push it and fill it with more egg, and it'll keep cooking. I know I said 3 earlier, but it looks like this one's gonna do 4. Those were pretty big eggs. Okay, last one. So as it gets a little bit fatter, I do need to use my finger or something equivalent to help hold it. But we're just gonna flip this guy over one more time. That's why we have that little ledge. Ta-da! It's like an egg burrito. Okay, and all there's left to do is cut it up. So I like mine pretty thick. I usually cut it in half and then divide it up into, we'll go with thirds. They're pretty big slices and they're great with some rice, or you can eat them alone as a snack. The best part is this right here. You see all those yummy, beautiful layers. I think the seaweed does add a little bit more interest to them. The difference between the seaweed and then the regular one, obviously you get a nice outline in them. But overall, they both look really cool. You see the rolled layers in them. This is the one without. And a little tip is that if you do cook it so that there's an outer brown layer like this, the rolls look even more prominent. Aesthetically speaking, it's up to you. I'm gonna give the plain one a try. Just a little bit of the mirin and the soy adds another layer of flavor that you don't usually get in eggs, like the Denver omelet eggs. Another really fun way to enjoy these. I mean, maybe not for kids, but for you guys, if you're on the run and you need something quick to grab and go, Tamagoyaki sticks. This would be a really fun way to like grab and go. Just don't stab yourself as you're eating it. But it's a good way to carry your Tamagoyaki with you. Omelet a la go-go. We're making egg sous vide bites, Starbucks style. Except here, I'm gonna have the machines do all the work. So it's really simple. I just basically blend everything up in this blender, add 4 eggs. I'm using pretty large eggs here I feel like the larger the eggs, the more just creamy it gets with the next ingredient, which I'll show you. So the next ingredient, I looked up what was on their sous vide bites, and believe it or not, they add cottage cheese for that extra creaminess. And I actually like it because this adds the protein, and you guys know I'm not a fan of cottage cheese, but I can endure this part. So then we add a little bit of salt, pepper. For an extra kick, I love adding a dash of hot sauce. And then we also add some shredded cheese. I know they use Gruyere, but I like using sharp cheddar just because I feel like it's a little more universal. So I'm just gonna shred it up, and you only need like half a cup, a little less. Okay, that looks to be good. And then you just blend it all up. Beautiful. You just have a very nice, creamy, airy mixture like this. Almost like a custard, but not really because there's no like milk cream in there. You're just using the cheese mixture. And then this is where the fun comes in. You can customize your sous vide bites to however you like it. I'm gonna go with their traditional, their classic, which is the bacon and Gruyere. But like I said, I like to use cheddar. Let me just shred a little more for that bit. This is the Instant Pot silicone sous vide mold. It's made specifically for these egg bites, but you can also make other stuff in here like Jello, yogurt cups, yogurt pops for your kids. I don't know. I've done a few things with these molds. They're more of a multitasking tool than just like one trick pony type of thing. Okay, for the sake of the fact that I want some of the bacon to be at the bottom, I'm gonna add bacon bits to half of them. You can add as much or as little. And then I'm gonna have fun with one of them. One of my other favorite Starbucks menu item to get is the spinach feta wrap. And so I'm gonna do a spinach feta egg sous vide bite bomb. So I'm just gonna add some sun-dried tomatoes, some already cooked spinach. I like the idea of doing my own, mainly because number one, each of those bites are kind of expensive. And then I can just meal prep for the whole week, and then I can have snacks ready on the go. And it's just easy. And then for the spinach feta one, added spinach, some feta. It's fine if there's already cheese in this mixture. I think that because it's a little versatile, you could pair it with anything. And then for that one, I also like to add some Greek seasoning. This one is Greek Freak by Spiceology. And then this one, cheese, more cheese, cheesy bites. And then we also like chives in ours. Make it easy, cut it in, why not? See, now you have some greens in your morning snack or breakfast on the go, something you can feel really good about. And then finally, just pour the egg mixture in. Sometimes you'll see the air bubbles coming up like that. It's fine, it's just kind of settling underneath all the other goodies. We're just gonna go back and move things around a little bit so there's no air bubbles. Just to make sure you lift everything so it kind of mixes evenly. Not a super important step if you don't really care about where things settle, but if you want it to be like a well dispersed bite, yeah. Okay, that's all there is to it. So I will be using the Instant Pot today, but let's say you guys don't have an Instant Pot, you can still definitely do this in the oven in like little muffin tins. You just kind of like steam bake it, and then I'll just write the instructions on my website, which I'll link in the description below if you guys want the recipes to everything I made today. Okay, so basically what we'll do is fill it up with some water, and then I put this trivet in there already so we can easily pull the sous vide eggs out. Pop it in. So we'll do it for 10 minutes on high. So it just finished the 10 minutes, but I'm actually gonna let it kind of naturally release and settle down a little bit for about 3 minutes. So in total, you are waiting about like 15 minutes for it to come up to pressure, 10 minutes to cook, 3 minutes to naturally release, but it's gonna be all worth it. How many of you guys actually still use your Instant Pot? I know like for a while it was so popular. I still love mine. I use it probably once a week still, but I wonder if it's like one of those fad things or if it's actually still really useful to people. So they did kind of explode a little bit, but look, they do end up shrinking back down to be like pretty small. So we just have to let it kind of do its thing. You guys saw how like puffy it was, right? Well, at least we know that it's fully cooked. Let me grab something to take this out with. Okay, and here we have our sous vide egg bites. We can definitely let it calm down or just cool down for a little bit, but what I like about these, I'm just gonna flip them over in a little dish. Okay, time for the reveal. Voila! I mean, does that not look pretty much exactly like a Starbucks sous vide egg bites? Possibly a little bigger. They're so soft and jiggly. Yeah, so I would let this cool down for about 5 minutes before digging in because they're quite hot, but I want to open one up so you guys can actually see. Look at that. Delish. A little bit of Calabrian chili hot sauce. That's good. It's like creamy, a little bit souffle-ish, kind of salty from the bacon, which I really love, and then the cheese just kind of mixes all throughout. 10 out of 10, I want to save you guys money from buying those Starbucks sous vide bites, so definitely try this recipe.
It's heavy.
My taste tester, it's heavy.
Yeah, not bad.
You like it?
Yeah.
I think that would be a good one for us to meal prep all the time, since Nate's been working out and he needs to have extra protein, bacon and eggs and cheese. Oh my God, stop. All right, let's make our next one. Okay, so this next egg dish is one that I've been seeing a lot on the internet, but I wanted to give my own spin to it. It's egg and cocotte, or basically baked eggs in this little dish right here. It's super easy too in terms of execution, so I definitely think that this could work even for a weekday. It does take a little bit of like cook time though, so maybe just a good weekend brunch item, this could work. So first, all you have to do is really butter the dish. I don't totally think this part is necessary because it doesn't really stick that much. I've done it before where I forgot to do it. And they're eggs. They stick a little, but they come off. And all you have to do for this is, depending on how many eggs you want per dish, I think I'm gonna do 2. You just crack it directly in. Yeah, I'll go for 2 each. Whoa. Obviously, depending on how many eggs you use per dish, the cooking time will vary. So I will go through that in just a little bit, but let me just finish adding in the eggs. This is a great dish to make if you have like friends coming over for brunch. In little dishes served like this, it's just so fancy and it makes it a little bit more personalized. And it's so easy to make. They'll be so impressed by the level of effort that you put into it, just like how pretty it looks. And then you just add a little bit of cream. I would say for 2 eggs, I'm gonna put about 1.5 tablespoons, just eyeball it, just enough that it makes the eggs creamy. But overall, for the 3 dishes, I'm using like a 1/4 cup. So typically, a lot of people just leave it, but I like kind of mixing the cream with the egg whites. Make sure not to break the yolk. So maybe use a spoon instead. I just like to mix it a little bit more because I feel like it bakes a little better, because otherwise you get a layer of whites, a little bit of cream, and then egg yolk. And I don't know, I think it's better if you mix it. So that's just my hot tip on these eggs. If you guys wanted to add anything extra to this, like pumpkin puree, tomato sauce, you can mix it with the cream first and then break in the eggs. I think that would be really lovely as well. And then for me, I like to keep it simple. We're just gonna add salt and pepper. Some people like to add cheese. I've seen boursin, I've seen goat cheese, I've seen just a whole gamut. I like shredded Parmesan. It's a little salty, it mixes well, and especially it goes well with my spice that I will add to this as well, which is za'atar. And you guys will see what I do with the Parmesan and za'atar next. I'm gonna tie it all in with the next component that I'm gonna show you guys once these go into the oven. So these are gonna go in the oven, but first we're gonna cook them on soft heat. So we're gonna put them in like a water bath. Okay, so into this baking dish, I'm gonna add like pretty hot water. I'm just gonna add enough so that the water goes up probably halfway up the sides of those ramekins. Maybe this is enough, maybe not, we'll see. There's 3 of them. Think it'll work? Come on, you can do it. I got it. It's like a little puzzle. Okay, there you go. Yay, we did it. Yeah, it's about halfway up. I'd say this works. And then just close it up because what it's gonna do is like bake steam it. If you guys don't have these mini dishes, you can definitely still add your ramekins in there. Put the water in first and then cover it tightly with foil. It should do the same trick, but I'm gonna bake these at 375 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes, just until you get your preferred yolk style. If you want it more cooked, obviously cook it longer. If you want a softer yolk, like I do, cook it in less time. Okay, so while the eggs are cooking, I'm gonna show you guys how I toast up my bread in a very special way. So basically, I'm just using a crusty French bread loaf, put it into nice diagonal slices. So I'm gonna use the bread slices as our dunking vehicle for the baked eggs. Basically, we're gonna use it to break the yolk and just dip it in all that yumminess, but bread doesn't have to be boring. We're gonna toast them up and also add extra flavor to them too. So it's kind of like its own main thing. So I'm gonna toast up the bread with some olive oil and butter. We have like 6 slices. It's probably a little bit more than I needed, but that's okay. Some butter too. It just adds to the flavor. So once it gets nice and melty, I'm gonna dip the bread in this butter oil mixture and then we're gonna toast it up. Okay, so I'm just gonna dip the bread in, let it soak up all the goodness on each side. Just gotta work a little bit fast though, because it does soak up fairly quick. Okay. I do want to rearrange them in a way that I could take them out easily because I do need to flip them. So hold on. So now comes the fun part. I'm actually gonna put Parmesan cheese on them and then we're basically gonna create our own Parmesan crisp with a hint of za'atar on top. Extra flavor. We love it. Okay, when you flip it over, just be really careful that you don't like spill the whole thing. I'm turning down the heat to low. See, I semi-melted it first so that it sticks to the bread easier. And then I added more Parmesan cheese on the other side. Once it's like nice and toasty, you can flip it over very easily and then it'll harden with the bread. Just like an extra step that adds so much flavor and yumminess to just like plain toasted bread, you know? Trader Joe's used to sell these Parmesan crisps that we got all the time for like cheese boards, just like snacking crackers, but they stopped selling them and I was very sad about that. So I have to create my own now. Here's what it looks like. Okay, it's still hot, but you still want that like jiggle to it. Get a little parsley on top and then let's dunk it. Yes. So it's almost like an egg dip, you know? A cheesy egg dip. Got a lot of parsley in this piece. It's so comforting. If you guys like soft boiled eggs, like a runny egg to dip with your bread, this is it. Like this is the dish that you want to make. The bread has this like nice cheese crust to it, so it adds another layer of crunch. And then the egg contrasted with the soft yolky egg. This is your fall hosting breakfast dish right here. Fun fact, my favorite way to eat an egg is actually a fried egg. So a lot of you guys probably have seen those pesto fried eggs in the last year. I'm gonna do my twist on the pesto egg, except I'm gonna do it with tomato sauce. And we're gonna add some chili onion crunch to it for a nice spicy kick. So I'm gonna start with the chili onion crunch as the base because I want the oil from it. And I could eat this by the spoonful. If you don't like chili or spiciness to your eggs, just use olive oil. We have that. And then we're gonna add some marinara. This one is Sonoma Gourmet with roasted garlic. If you find ones with flavor, like a good marinara, I feel like that always helps just make everything taste better. This one's not bad. And then just crack your egg right on top. Sometimes it doesn't land exactly where I want it, but that's where a spatula comes in. And then I just push everything along. Yeah, so we're basically just using like the chili oil to cook it and then It just soaks in all that flavor. It reminds me of a shakshuka a little bit, but definitely a little different too because it doesn't have all those spices that go into the shakshuka. You're just leveraging the marinara flavor to flavor everything. My egg is too big for my spatula. If you wanted to, you could add a little bit more of the marinara at the bottom, but basically what happened was that it caramelized with the eggs that was cooking, so like the flavor is a lot more concentrated. You can also add salt and pepper on top, and bon appetit. The fried egg at the bottom is nice and crispy, and then you get that like chili onion crunch in there, so it's nice and spicy. So this is a very big yolk. It's larger than most. I'm scared to bite into it because it's just gonna spill on out, but Nate thinks I should drink it. Weird. Reminds me of that Friends episode. It's very runny. But yeah, you guys get the gist. Hope you guys like these 5 breakfast egg ideas. Comment below, let me know if you want to see more. Subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!